they turn the cable cars. That's how they turn the cable cars. Here we go. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Walden Wong Art, and today we're going to talk about Venom. I don't know how Spider-Man talks in this mess. It's so hard to talk through it. Anyway, again, thanks for watching this episode of Walden Wong Art, and today I'm going to talk about inking Venom. Now, I'm very excited about this video because at the end of the video, I'm going to make an announcement that's going to be very exciting. So for those of you who are aspiring artists, you're going to want to watch the whole video and wait towards the end. So today I'm going to talk about inking Venom, how I use a brush, and different approaches that I've done to ink this Venom piece. So without further ado, before the video starts, I want you to click subscribe, hit the notification button, the bell. Please like and share this video. So here we go, inking Venom. So the first thing I did before using this watercolor brush pen was I used a micron and I inked in Venom's face. The eyes, the teeth, some of the wrinkles on Venom's face. I used microns and did all that first. The reason for that is because I want to have all those lines to be as fine as I can. So with using a micron, I can get very fine lines. The logo, I've used Rapidograph Koh-I-Noor technical pens. And also templates, so I can get the logo nice and perfect. And here I'm using the watercolor brush pen where I'll dip the ink. This watercolor brush pen, I don't really fill it with ink. And some of the questions I get asked is, do you wash your watercolor brush pen? I don't really wash the watercolor brush pen. Think of it this way: if you bought a pre-filled brush pen in the art store that already has ink and you're using that, do you wash it when you're done using it for a certain piece? No, you don't. You just keep using that brush pen until it's all out of ink. So once it's out of ink, you just toss it away. Same reason here. I don't really wash this brush. I would just keep using it until it falls apart and then I'll throw it away. Maybe once in a while I'll rinse it off, but I don't usually wash it like one of those sable hair brushes. So if you're interested in purchasing any of the products I mentioned, the watercolor brush pen, microns, Rapidograph, Koh-I-Noor pens, templates, I've added links below the video in my description where you can place order. Every order you place, I get a little kickback that helps support making these videos. So thank you very much for that. So right now I'm doing tapered lines. Tapered lines is a thin line that gets thicker as it goes into a black area, or a big black area that goes into the tip of the line. That's called a tapered line, where it's like a little thin triangle. Right here I'm doing some of the tapered lines, but as I'm doing that, I will always fill in some of the blacks as I go. Some artists will do all the taper lines, do all the outlines, and then when they're done with the whole piece, they'll come back in and use another brush and then fill in all the blacks. I like to go in there and fill in the blacks as I'm doing all the work. Seems to be really productive that way. I don't have to have an extra step. I'll just go in there and fill in all the blacks as I go. Right here I'm working on Venom's forehead. Being very careful. Now, one of the things I'm very careful about is working on faces. Take your time when you're working on faces. Actually, you should take your time when you're working on anything. Never rush. Some people think I'm really fast with the inking. I'm not really fast. I just spend lots and lots of time doing the work. An average workday for me is between 8 to 16 hours to do a page. So that's a good pace. When deadline comes, I'll spend more hours, not sleep that much, just to get the work done. But I never rush through the page. Quality is more important than quantity. So you want to do your best. And if you have deadlines to meet to get the work done, just stay in your drawing table longer. Don't get distracted. Just stay there and do the work. Be very disciplined. When you're disciplined, you can get more work done. So right here I'm doing hatch lines. That becomes a taper line. A long line, and as I get closer to the black area, it becomes tapered. And as I go, I'm filling in. Now notice you'll see that I'll be inking certain lines first on the bottom, and then I'll taper on top. That way when I'm tapering, I have a place to stop tapering. Okay, right here I'm filling in the blacks, doing some taper lines on Venom's shoulders. Some of the taper lines gradually becomes a hatch line, and then the hatch line gradually becomes a taper line. So I can get like a gradation from a gray area to a dark, and then it transitions to a gray area where there's no dark, and then it goes back to a gray area where there's dark. So when you're inking, regardless if you're using a quill or if you're using a brush or micron, you want to control your tools as best as possible. You're not just moving your brush. For example, right here, I'm using the brush. I'm not just moving the brush left and right, up and down. I'm also concentrating on how high I want the brush to be, how low I want the brush to be. The higher I held the brush, the lightly I glide the brush, the thinner the line I'll get. The more pressure I apply to the brush, the more I press down on the brush, the thicker that line will be. So you're concentrating on your movements as well as your pressure when you're inking. Right here, I'm doing more taper lines, and here's a series of taper lines. And another thing you should concentrate on is the distance of your hatch lines and taper lines. The best advice I can give you when you're doing hatch lines and taper lines is pretend you're a printer or a machine and your hand is just printing out those machines. You want those lines to be consistently spaced apart. If they're spaced apart far, you want them to be spaced apart evenly far. If the starting point of those lines is at one point, you want them all to be starting at the same point, or at least a gradual transition from a higher point to a lower point. Like if you're inking a mountain, some taper lines will be higher and some is lower. You don't want those to be random. Every line you put down, there should be a beginning and an end. Every line that you put down has to make sense. Don't just ink in lines just to get it done. You have to think about every line that you put down. Okay, right here I'm doing more of Venom's back, tapering those lines. Right here I'm concentrating on which area of the taper lines I want it to be lighter and which areas that I want it to be darker. You're also thinking about the light source, how much light is hitting that taper area, how much grays you want to be there. So even with inking, there's a lot of thinking involved in how you want the piece to look. Again, space those lines evenly. That's the best advice you can ever get from being able to cross hatch and tapering. Now some of the cross hatch areas, if you'll see within this video, I'll space the hatch lines once evenly, and then when I'm cross hatching, I'll space it evenly as well. I'll show you that when we get to it. But right now I'm contouring some of the taper lines, making sure you're not just doing straight taper lines. You're contouring with the muscle of the figure that you're inking or drawing. Right here I'm hatching the lines, and the hatching becomes a taper line. Right here I'm cross hatching. Now you notice here when I'm cross hatching, I create diamond shapes within the cross hatching. Those little squares or diamonds, they should be evenly spaced apart. Not only that, the size of the diamond should be somewhat similar to the diamond next to it and placed in the same way where you can see a pattern. Right here, doing some cross hatch. So when you don't see a pattern, that's when you'll notice that the cross hatching and tapering is a little bit off. So more hatch lines over here, and then some more hatch lines on the tongue. Now right here I'm going to be working on the line weight of the body. Here I'm going from thin to thick, thick to thin. The more you can bounce your line weight, the better your lines, your 2D drawing can look 3D. So you want thin lines going to a thick line. Right here you notice I go from a thick to a thin. So there you have it. That's me inking this one panel of Venom for Marvel Comics Venom issue 154 from beginning to finish. It took me an hour and a half to do this. Thanks for watching this episode of Walden Wong Art. Please like, share, and subscribe. For those of you who want to take this a step further, you can support me on Patreon. I've added links below the video in the description to my Patreon page. And once you support me, there's going to be a file that you can download. So look for posting that says Ink Along With Me. Once you see that, you can download this file. This is a regular 8.5 by 11 page that you can print out on your color printer. Once you print that out, it's gonna have my inks on the left side, and then on the right side is the blue line printouts, which I formatted for you. So once you print it out, it's gonna look exactly like this. Now you can ink the blue lines the same way I've inked the blue lines in the video, and you can reference how I've inked it. Just look at how I've inked it here, and then ink it yourself. Now if you need more reference, come back to this video. You can pause it, fast forward, go back to where you left off, and then reference how I mimic the movements. That way you can learn how I've done it and try your hand at doing this. Again, I've added links below the video in the description. Support me on Patreon. Support me here on YouTube. Please like, share, and subscribe. There's gonna be a Venom movie coming out. Hope you watched it. Venom is one of my favorite characters that I enjoy. And I don't know how Spider-Man talks out of his costume. So enjoy time inking this Venom piece, and if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to my video. After you subscribe, oh yeah, please hit the notification button, the bell, so every time I have a new video coming out, you'll get a notification that I have a new video coming out. So check it out. Please like, share, subscribe, and support me on Patreon. Until next time, enjoy inking Venom. Rawr.